speak and off when they finish. Did I forget to do that? I'm sure I pressed the button. Oh, thank you. All right, that's fail number one. Okay. Right, so moving to agenda item 1, which is the public forum. I will read this out just so everyone's aware for the next meeting. The public forum will last for a period of 15 minutes during which members of the public may put questions to the Shadow Council or draw attention to relevant matters relating to the business on the agenda, and each speaker would be limited to 3 minutes. Business of the meeting would then follow after the public forum at 6:15 or whichever is earlier, give or take a few minutes to set that forum up. I don't actually see any members of the public this evening, which I was expecting, but so we will proceed on then to agenda item 2. And that is apologies and notification of substitute members. I do have apologies from Councillors Ruth Fletcher, Sam Raby, Clive Trott, and I am aware that Councillor Chris Frankie is running slightly late. Do I have any other apologies from any other members? Seeing none, I am asked that we all are agreed to accept the apologies I read out. Agreed? Thank you. Yeah. Agenda item 3, declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Members who have an interest to declare on any item on the agenda must declare the existence and nature of it at the start of the meeting and act in accordance with the Council Code of Conduct, Section 27, Localism Act 2011. I will start just with respect to item 12. I already manage a contract as a client of one of the listed providers, so as to not influence this decision, I shall not be commenting or voting on the proposed solution on item 12. Does anyone else have any other interest to declare? Okay, seeing none, we shall move on to yours, just mine. Yep. Yeah. Just agenda item 4. And that is the minutes of the previous meeting. This is the draft minutes from the meeting on the 26th of January, which was circulated to members prior with the agenda and are available on the HEC website with the agenda pack. May I ask the interim parish clerk to summarise any amendments submitted prior to the publication?
Thank you. Yes. So I have been informed that John Still is the chair of the Horsham Blueprint Neighbourhood Forum, so I've updated the minutes to reflect that. And there was mention that John Still was a councillor. In fact, he's not, so that has been rectified as well. So those are the amendments to the draft minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further amendments or corrections? Minutes? Okay, seeing none, do you all agree that I can sign the minutes of the meeting of the Shadow Horsham Parish Council held on the 26th of January as a true and accurate reflection of the meeting?
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you mind? Thank you, Chair.
I have a red pen. Is that okay?
That's absolutely.
It's the 20.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item 5, elections for Horsham Parish Council. The Horsham Parish Council elections will take place on Thursday, the 7th of May, 2026. All the details and information that relates to these elections can be found on the elections webpage on Horsham District Council's website. There will be publicity undertaken by the District Council, and the resources provided by the National Association of Local Councils have been shared by the interim parish clerk with the Democratic Services and Comms team at HGC. I'm just inviting members to note that information, and which they can also share with any constituents and residents. Moving on to agenda item 6. This is regarding the interim venue for the parish interim venue, and the interim clerk has prepared a report outlining recommendations for a viable solution for office and meeting space for an interim period until the new parish council is in place and can consider more permanent solutions. So I will ask the interim parish clerk to introduce that report.
Thank you, Chair. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at the report in detail. There were some questions after the agenda pack was issued, so I've got some updates. So the alterations or requirements for the Blackbridge Community Centre, I spoke about the creation of a petition wall that would be needed on the first floor to make that an office space that was actually a private space. As it's a minor internal alteration, it doesn't involve structural changes, and I've been informed that it doesn't need planning permission, but it would have to comply with building regulations. There was another inquiry about Park Barn, the fact that the heating sometimes is not very, very strong. And I've had confirmation again from the property team that the gas-fired underfloor heating is supported by electric panel wall heaters. So they're not aware of any complaints from previous hirers about the temperatures. I have undertaken a site visit of the Freedom Works, where a unit is currently available, and that is one of the options this evening. And I've had confirmation that that can be occupied from the 20th of April 2026. If this is the chosen option, I will need to explore availability in the town centre for a notice board, and I have had confirmation today, thank you, that there is one that will be readily available near Carfax. Also, members have had the template that Freedom Works used for the membership agreement for information today shared as well. If Blackbridge is the option, there will be a draft lease needed for 1 year, and this will be made available from the legal team at HDC if this is the preferred option. And I think, yes, so there was a query around broadband installation because there is no broadband at Park Barn or Blackbridge, and those costs would be met by HDC from the set-up budget that's been set aside. And I think that was all the queries, unless there's anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. So further comments and questions, Trudy.
Sorry, it was just going back to the reference to heating in Park Barn.
Yes.
It's not a question of whether it's the fact they forget to switch it on, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll make a note of that.
Diane?
Can I ask, if we go for the Freedom Works, you say
Yes.
it's available from the 20th of April.
Yes.
Do we have to sign a lease? Because you do for Blackbridge.
So it's not a lease, it's an agreement. And that draft agreement I sent to members today is the agreement that we would need to sign. We only need to commit to a minimum of 6 months, but they prefer a year. And actually a year is you know, in my opinion, is a strong base to start from, because I think if you were less than a year, you're not going to give the new council much time, you know, to do it any. I mean, it's been difficult, I have to say, finding these locations. It's not an easy task. So I think in the first year, it would be better to have that security and have a base to work from. Thank
Can I
you.
ask one more question,
Yes.
please? You say Park Barn, the Wi-Fi is going to be paid out of the set-up costs. Surely the Park Barn is a venue that's used by loads of people, so why should the parish council do that when other people will benefit from the Wi-Fi?
So when I said the set-up budget, I meant the Horsham District Council budget. Yeah, they've set aside for the set-up of the parish council, so that would come from that budget, not the parish council budget. Thank you.
Councillor Skip?
Yes, thank you very much. I note that it was suggested that Park Barn would be free of charge for our meetings. I can't believe that that's the case, is it? Or is that really the case?
No, so since that advice I had, I've subsequently had confirmation that there would be a higher charge. So I have informed members of that situation.
Okay. How high is that? How high is that charge likely to be?
I factored it into the budget. I think it's 2,000 and, gosh, let's have a look. You've got a breakdown on here. Park Barn. Yes, because it's £28 per hour, £2,408. That's an estimation, obviously, the number of meetings I've used.
That's quite high, isn't it, really? I mean, how many meetings are we going to have there in Park Barn?
So there would probably, there'll be probably at least once a week, because you've got full council meeting once a month. You've got Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting once a month. You've got Planning Committee meeting once a month.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will probably be 4 times a month. I did do a sort of breakdown, and I've used the numbers across the board so that it's comparative.
Thank you.
Councillor Emery?
I noticed that the difference in the full cost of Blackbridge and Freedom Works is it's an additional £3,800. in your opinion, having done so much work on this, as a working environment and for residents, which of those two buildings would you consider to be a preferable environment in which to work and for residents, and is the premium of worthwhile?
So in my opinion, from a working perspective, either site would be sufficient. I am aware that there are reservations about using Blackbridge because of the distance from the town centre. And as I'm not a resident of Horsham, I wouldn't like to comment on, how difficult that would be for residents. We certainly have had contact from one resident to say that they thought that it wasn't ideal to be at Blackbridge. But I say from a working perspective, either site would be sufficient and meet the needs.
Thank you very much.
Before I just go back to the group, just so you're clear, what we do need to do this evening is we've been presented with these options, but I will need a member of the Shadow Council to propose a preferred option that then can be seconded, so that then we can vote. And obviously, if there's two preferred options, we'll vote one. If it doesn't pass, we would vote for a second option. But so maybe I'm very welcome for someone to propose one of the three options now as their preferred option and hope for support. Or if you have further questions, Councillor or Tyne.
From my perspective and the neighbourhood council's perspective, Blackbridge is out of the centre and residents will have a problem getting there. So I would like to propose that we proceed with Freedom Works
Thank you, Joanne.
and Park Barn.
And Park Barn. Do you have a seconder? Oh, sorry.
Just interrupting because when Diane's speaking.
Oh, sorry. Laura, could you put the button? Sorry.
When Diane is speaking, is my name that comes up. So just for the correction of the minutes, this is Diane proposing it, not me.
Okay, and you're coming up as Trudy. So
I think we swap seats.
okay. Oh, that's all right. The Horsham District Council among us know not to move our seats around, otherwise the Democratic Services officers get very upset with us. So, okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So, but would one of you like to second this proposal? Okay. Just to move it, I'll have Councillor Skip second that.
Okay.
Just so,
Thank you.
so then, can I have a show of hands? So the proposal is to go with Freedom Works as the office space and Park Barn as the meeting space. All those in favour, please show your hand. That is unanimous.
Unanimous. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we will now move on to agenda item 7. These are the draft, the first set of documents that we're going to be reviewing tonight. You will have received copies of these draft documents. However, there have been some proposed edits, which the interim parish clerk will summarise for each document. But do note, after we've talked about each document, we have the option again to recommend that latest draft to the future elected parish council as it stands, for them to then later adopt, or to take it back for further review and discussion to bring to our next meeting. So after we've discussed a document, I will be asking if there's a proposer or a seconder to recommend that document as it then stands. And if it is agreed or supported, it will move on to the future elected council. I've also asked the interim parish clerk to just keep a change log of any changes we make, particularly to any of the model documents, so that the future elected parish council can easily review anything that this group has requested to be changed before they adopt a final version. So we're going to move first to the standing orders, and so we'll consider the standing orders. That was Appendix 3A. Just before we move to as quick, there is a proposal to strike the need to stand while speaking on, that was on page 9 of the standing orders under number 3, general meetings, paragraph I. And I just want to ask quickly if we are all agreed with that change. Agreed? Is there agreement? Okay. Were there any other amendments that you want to mention before I go to the councillors?
Thank you, Chair. So the other point that has been raised as well is under meetings generally, Standing Order 3, B and C are similar. And in fact, they're apart from one being a bit more expanded, they mean the same thing. So there is a proposal that B and C are amalgamated, and then we use the full council meeting coloured dot and the committee meeting coloured dot so that we shorten the list and make it B and C as one combined. There were also some grammatical additions or alterations which I've done, which is about the capitalisation. That's been done as well. And yes, as you say, removing the need to stand when speaking as well was the other alteration. Thank you, Chair.
So are there any other further comments or edits? Councillor Buffy, did you want to? Okay, sorry, I saw that. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Councillor Mercer. Okay, so is there a seconder to accept this document with the amendments?
Sorry, I think there are some other questions that I'd like to raise on the document before we go that
Okay,
far.
Judy, do you want to go to that?
I've got to try and work my way around it. One of them was referring to committees and non-local councillors non-voting. And I was suggesting that it would be, to achieve some continuity, it might be beneficial to include neighbourhood representatives for at least a year. This is on item 4.
Page 10, I believe.
You've got standing orders, then it goes on to generally, and then it goes on to committee.
I'm going to turn to you to know if there's a convention for that or not.
Thank you. Yes. So that query was raised, and it would not be, the Shadow Council cannot appoint co-optees onto the Parish Council. That will be for the Parish Council to decide. So there won't be the opportunity to agree any co-options. The new Parish Council will have to do that itself. So I hope that...
I understand that, but I'm wondering if there is some way that, as a proposal, this could be included elsewhere on the agenda.
So not if it's not on the agenda, you can't add an item. We can put something on for the next month's meeting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
May I ask, Clerk, just for that sort of suggestion, is that something that could be sort of recorded along with the changes for, again, because we are only agreeing to a recommendation of this document to the, if I'm correct, to the elected council, who then have to approve it.
Yeah.
So could that maybe be later articulated, perhaps with Trudy Mitchell's involvement, so that we have the wording that she's looking for the later council to consider?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. It have to be a report for the next meeting. This is not something that you would not appoint anybody to the to the new parish council. We don't even know who's going to be elected yet, so you cannot predetermine who would be co-opted. You can make recommendations, which, you know, obviously that can feed through with the handover documents, but it certainly won't be any appointments.
No, I realise that.
Okay, thank you.
And there was also something with the draft minutes that the recordings would be destroyed.
This is in the standing orders you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So this is actually it's the NAP template. It's a standard procedure, and it does depend on the storage capabilities. So with the district council, obviously, you know, they've got lots of IT teams and storage and everything. But with the new parish council, not knowing yet what the storage electronic facilities will be and how big the space will be, it's normal, I would expect, to keep the recordings for maybe 6 months. But once the minutes are signed and approved, they are the legal document of that meeting. You don't require anything else. You don't require the recordings. The minutes are the legal document. And if there is any need to go to court, certainly the minutes would be used as evidence. They wouldn't be asking for recordings. So hope that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I believe there's a proposal to accept this version of the standing orders as recommendation to the future elected parish council. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Skip. All those agreed? Raise your hand, sorry, this time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify one thing?
Yes. Could you use your mic? Sorry, Councillor.
I just wanted to clarify, if I missed it and it's my fault, apologies. Are we saying therefore that these will be the working rules for the Shadow Council pending recommendation to the actual Parish Council?
No, so these are not the working rules for the Shadow Council. These are the Shadow Councillors looking at all these documents, and you've got more coming in March, so I'm just putting that out there, so that hopefully if you have recommended these to the new parish council, it will save them some time, and then they'll have the confidence that you've had sight of these and debated about them, and hopefully then that will mean that there's a smooth transition after the elections.
Councillor Buffy?
Hopefully this is just a further clarification, but one would imagine that even then, these don't actually take effect until the full council has voted to adopt them. So I'm assuming there's some basic statute governing how that first annual meeting takes place, and maybe these will then be voted to be adopted at that meeting or at the first ordinary.
It will be the first meeting, certainly, yeah.
So in my layman's terms, effectively what we're doing is agreeing at this point to not discuss them any further as a shadow body. But if you choose to want to discuss them further, that's what I'm saying, we cannot agree them and say that we want the clerk to go back and review some more changes or discussions, and then we will bring them back to the next meeting. So, yes.
So you're updating them. Will we get the updated version round so that we can have a look at those updates?
Yes, I'll do that after the meeting.
So it may be that we will have another comment to make or not at the next meeting, once we've looked at it again.
So if you recommend this evening that these are to go to the new parish council as the documents, they won't be coming back to the next meeting here as the shadow council. If you don't want to do that this evening, I can make the amendments and I can share them again for you to have them again at the March meeting. But I'm just letting you know that there are a lot more documents coming through in March. So just to put that on the radar.
I mean, I would like to emphasize that the majority of these documents are not being drafted from scratch and sort of are operating documents for a vast majority of parish councils across the country. So, well, I agree that we do need to make changes to fit our community. We don't want to deviate from the norm too much. With that said, was that the understanding when we just voted to stop reviewing the standing orders and push them to the next council? Was that clear? Okay.
Sorry, Chair, I don't think you voted yet. I think you had Councillor Mercer proposed and Councillor Skip.
Okay.
I didn't think it was a show of hands.
Good. So under that preference and understanding, can I just have the show of hands again to agree the standing orders as now amended, with a final version coming to you later and published with the documentation? If you agree, please raise your hands. Any against or any abstentions?
No. Okay.
Abstaining. Okay, so there's
That's
two abstentions.
2 abstentions. Thank you.
Okay, so the next document in this section is the financial regulations, that's 3B. Just to add to that, you may have noticed there are 3 sections of highlighted bits which have to be filled in later, because obviously there isn't a bank account yet, and there's a date that needs to be added. So after we discuss this, we would be approving it as it stands, with the premise that those dates, that information needs to be filled in when it's known. Did you have any comments received on these documents?
Thank you, Chair. So there was one amendment to Financial Regulation 5.15. It's the 5th bullet point, and I've added excluding VAT. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Diane.
I'm sorry to keep...
No, it's okay.
Sorry to keep asking those questions. I raised a question about why the limited assurance review scheme covered the year 25-26. I still don't understand it. Sorry, would you mind explaining it again, please?
So the smaller audit authorities appointments are the official body that deal with local councils' external auditors. So they have contacted me as the interim clerk because they know that there's a shadow council, and informed me, and I think I quoted it, didn't I, in your email, to whom it may concern, and they have advised me that there will be a quality assurance review for 2025-2026. Now, I know that this evening, later on the agenda, we do need to sort of make sure that we either appoint and stay into the central scheme, which is my recommendation, or it means that I would need to go and source and qualified, competent external auditor, which would be of a more expense, because you know, if you stay in the central scheme, obviously it's a big contract. They cover, you know, lots of local councils in the area. So my recommendation is to stay in the central scheme. But that said, they are the governing body, and I will be led by their advice. If that's what they have advised me and informed me, I will, after this meeting, once I have the decision from members about whether they're staying in the central scheme, I will contact them and ask for clarification. I was surprised myself, but also in the March meeting as well, I'll have a report for you for the internal auditor, which is a different situation. It's an internal auditor, somebody that is competent, again, that the council appoints themselves. So they're not appointed by the central government body, they are appointed by the council, and they are the ones that I would need advice on the process for this, because it's not something I've come across before, I'm being honest. Okay.
Sorry, can I just say,
Yes.
thank you for saying that you didn't understand it either, because I thought, well, we haven't got any money coming in, why are we doing anything?
Yeah.
But you're going to report at the next meeting then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other further comments or proposed edits to the financial regulations document 3B? Seeing none, may I have a proposer to recommend this document subject to the insertion of the details into the highlighted sections to the elected parish council? Thank you, Councillor Emery, and can I have a seconder? Councillor Franklin, and then all those agreed to move this document forward, please show your hands. All those against, and any abstentions?
Two abstentions. Thank you.
So we move on to the Code of Conduct, which is Appendix 3C. Now I've written my page numbers. It's page 54 of your long agenda pack, I believe. That's on the PDF page number, to be clear. I'll turn to the interim parish clerk to ask if there are any suggested amendments to the Code of Conduct.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing that I can report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further comments or proposed edits? Seeing none, may I again have a proposer to recommend this document to the elected parish council? Councillor Emery, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Mercer. And all those agreed to recommend the Code of Conduct to the elected parish council? Show of hands.
Thank you.
Any against and any abstentions? One abstention. So we move next to the proposed parish council committee structure summary. That was Appendix 3D. I just want to note that, because I had asked about this, just that document does not include the full parish council meetings listed. So when you're adding up the numbers, you need to include those, and that would be expected to be, again, to be set by the future council and confirmed, but expected to be monthly with the exception of the month of August as is standard practice. I also note that we have amended that document to just clarify that in this context, bi-monthly means every other month, not twice a month. So I'll turn to the parish clerk if there are any other amendments to this.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just the update I did bi-monthly. Just to clarify, that does mean every 2 months with no August meeting. Thank you.
Any further comments or edits? Seeing none, may I again have a proposer to recommend this document to the future council? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can I just have a quick read
Yeah.
through my notes before you go ahead? No, I think you covered everything, thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. So again, can I have a proposer to move this one forward? Councillor Franklin, seconder. Councillor Boffey, thank you. All those agree to move this document forward, please show your hands. And that's unanimous. Thank you. And next is the committee terms of reference and scheme of delegation 2026. That was attached in 3E. I turn to the parish clerk to see if there are any amendments or suggestions you received.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I did notice that under the policy and resources meetings, that should be every 2 months. It actually says at the moment meeting monthly, except August. And again, under the human resources meetings, bi-monthly and in brackets to ensure clarification every 2 months. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or edits? Questions? Thank you. Seeing none, again, may I have a proposer for this document? Councillor Emery and a seconder. Morag, thank you. And all those in favour of moving this forward? That's unanimous. Thank you. Great. So we will now move to agenda item 8, which is another set of documents, policies and core documents. I thank the clerk for preparing these, and we'll again go through similar procedure for each document. So we'll look first at the complaints procedure, which is Appendix 4A or page 111 on the agenda pack. Have you received any suggested edits?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. So there was a query around what would happen if there was a complaint about the clerk. So the procedure would be that the complaint would go to the chair of the council or the vice chair if the chair was conflicted. A small panel of councillors may be convened to gather evidence and interview the clerk if needed. The staff disciplinary procedure, once draft, will cover this procedure, and that also may become a grievance or a performance issue as well. This should be normally handled by the Human Resources Committee. And I did suggest that I could include a brief note in the complaints procedure just to clarify that any complaint against the clerk will go to the chair or the vice chair and refer to the disciplinary procedure. Thank you.
Thank you. I would actually just like to add, because as a member of the Standards Committee here at Horsham District, I'm familiar with this often confusion for residents that the Code of Conduct as well, that applies to elected councillors. So any staff, any employees of the council, be it the clerk or others, that is handled through a completely different process, not through the standard regime, through sort of your HR processes, which then at that point, if it were against the clerk, would first come through the chair. But there is a difference here, that the clerks and any hired staff or employees of the council are not bound by the code of conduct, shall we say, of the councillors. It's different. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Mercer.
Which code of conduct are they bound by then?
So you're talking about, the clerk in particular.
Yes, the clerk and any other
So the
officers.
Society of Local Council Clerks does actually have a code of conduct. And I am, in my previous experience, I have been a bit disappointed at times because although it's a suggested code, there isn't any tie to it. You know, nobody's made to adhere to it. But certainly I take that very seriously myself as a professional, but there is a code of conduct for the clerks through the SLCC, and obviously any clerk, if there were any concerns, you have to factor in obviously employment law because they are an employee, as the chair rightly said, but there will be disciplinary performance procedures and policies coming through in March. So just to let you know that you'll be getting those before the last meeting. Okay.
If I can just follow that up. I mean, I think we all know, don't we, that apart from, shall we say, difficulties between councillors themselves, that most often there are issues about councillors and clerks or other employed staff. And I'm looking to protect employed staff because quite often in my experience, they're the ones who actually know about some of the rules and regulations, and councillors tend not to because that's not their normal. So therefore, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but maybe it should be that we recommend to the parish council that they should look at whether they should adopt the code of conduct as their overarching code of conduct for staff. The one that you mentioned, I'm sorry, I didn't get the initials. And then that kind of places it there as, and then within that, the other procedures sit. Is that not something that normally happens?
It's not something that normally happens. I think with the, there is Civility and Respect project, which now could be working very hard to combat exactly what you're talking about, you know, breakdown in relationships and things that really can cause councils a lot of, well, money and also time. And the Civility and Respect project is something really, really great to get behind, because there are lots of tools in there. It's a toolkit. And one of them is councillor officer protocol. And that's something I think that would be very welcomed, I'm sure, with the new council, depending on experience of councillors as well. There's brilliant resources, a Good Councillor's Guide to Being an Employer, because obviously not everybody's had that experience. So again, this is where the induction will be vital. You know, I've got in April a lot of work to do to prepare all these induction resources and materials, because you need to give people the tools to do the role, and that's most important.
I'll go to Councillor Murphy first.
Thank you, Chair. Just to check my understanding, because I think you mentioned it earlier, that some of the subsequent documents that will be coming to future meetings that essentially will set the kind of internal, effectively the code of conduct for staff will be something that's coming to us. So I think if we were to consider anything else, it might be a case of seeing those documents first and then working out whether there's any gaps, and then just to say for the SLCC code of conduct, if it's anything like my professional institution and many others, essentially presumably complaints, should anyone want to, can be made to the SLCC and they can adjudicate a case rather than it be something that goes through the parish council, but I don't know. Thanks.
You would think that, but it doesn't. No, that is not how it works. The code of conduct is literally a voluntary code, and I have reached out before because I had concerns, and basically was told that the code nobody can hold anyone to it. I mean, it's similar, isn't it, with the code of conduct for councillors as well, because, you know, it's a tricky situation at times. And so all I would say is it's there, it is available, and hopefully everybody will adhere to the code. But when you do have issues, the most important thing is that there is, the opportunity to reach out as well to the WSALC, the West Sussex area local association of local councils, because they can do mediation as well, but hopefully there won't be a problem.
So having just got back from Disney World and been on Pirates of the Caribbean the other day, it's kind of like Captain Barbosa. They're more like guidelines than actual rules.
I'm going to go to Morag first, and then I'll come to the other council. Okay.
Jay's name is also coming up as Colin Minto.
All right. I will make sure to say your names for the benefit of the recording and those watching online. I'll make sure to say your names before I just point to ask anyone to speak. But Councillor Mercer, I believe you had another question.
No, it's not talking to me. Just to say, in the light of that comment, is it not possible to encapsulate adhering to the code within employment contracts?
I don't think you could actually do that. I'll have a think about that and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Sorry, Councillor Skip.
Am I coming up as another councillor, or
No,
am
you're
I
Councillor
coming
Skip today, if you so choose to be.
I just wondered whether I might come up with one of these ladies. Anyway, sorry. There is just more to this, because I do remember when I was on Standards Committee here, we regularly had one particular parish council which was considered at standards for many, many months. So presumably there is an appeals procedure whereby parish council can appeal to the district council or go through the district council, and if so, what happens when we become a unitary, and does that, it doesn't matter.
Sorry, I've lost my train of thought now, because I think you're going into the realms of, you know, looking into the future, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen yet with local government reorganisation. When you were talking about standards committee, are you talking about for councillors or are you talking about for officers?
Well, it was for councillors, but in fact, obviously officers are involved, and there could be complaints against officers, which would come to the council committee. But in fact, there were complaints by one parish member against another parish member, and against the clerk, and those also came to the standards committee.
That's most unusual.
It
Normally, the district council would say anything that involves an officer is for the local council to deal with themselves. There would not be, in my experience, it's not ever happened where I've been.
It was an unusual set of circumstances, but the clerks were obviously involved because of the dissatisfaction of councillors with the clerks, and it went on, and it kept coming back to standards. So I presume that's. And the other question was, and it's a very simple one, is safeguarding. Do we have a safeguarding sort of policy, or is that coming next? Or
that hopefully will be here in March. If it doesn't make it because of the weight of the others, because there are some that really should come in March. If there isn't capacity, then that one may have to go to the new parish council. But there certainly will be a safeguarding policy.
Just to add, Councillor Skip, it's definitely the opinion of the current monitoring officer of the district council not to handle complaints against clerks, just to be clear. Is the mic on?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. All right, so we're talking about the complaints procedure again. Are there any other comments or questions? Otherwise, may I have a proposer to recommend this document to the elected council? Councillor Emery, and a seconder. Trudy Mitchell, thank you. All those in favour, please show your hands. That is unanimous. Thank you. So next we move to the data protection policy, Appendix 4B, page 116 of my paperwork. Are there any comments or proposed edits this time?
Nothing that I've seen, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from this council about this document or comments? Seeing none, can I have a proposer to recommend this document to the council? Thank you, Councillor Mercer, and a seconder. Thank you, Morag. All those in favour, please show your hands. Any against? Any abstentions? So that is unanimous. Are you abstaining?
I didn't read it.
So one abstention.
Thank
Fair
you.
enough. Thank you for your honesty. We'll move on to the next document, which is the publication scheme, 4C, page 126. I will just ask the clerk, because I had queried the items that were marked as not held and why that was. So maybe you could offer that explanation to everyone, and any other comments.
Thank you, Chair. So just checking to make sure there were no other comments. Oh, yes. So I've updated, there was under Class 7, the services we offer, it specified seating. I've updated that to reflect street furniture, because I think that's a bit more of a better explanation. Thank you for that suggestion. And then where it actually specifies not held, all it means is at the moment there are obviously no services or assets that will be coming to the new council, so that information will not be held. That's not to say that it won't be in the future, so that is just a case of having a holding part on the publication scheme if and when that happens. Thank you. And just to add that the list is not exhaustive, there might be other things that come through once the new council's formed. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane.
Sorry, I didn't read that document. When you say that there are no assets coming through, do you mean assets that are coming from the neighbourhood council across?
No, I was talking about sort of parks and public conveniences and things. At the moment, what we know is the allotments and obviously speed indicator devices. But other than that, I'm not aware of anything else. And, really, with the budget being so tight for the first year, the new council needs to form before it can, even consider and evaluate other things. Thank you.
And notice boards as well.
So I've got a list at the moment from Democratic Services that I've got to look through. Notice boards are mentioned. I would expect that, but obviously I need to sort of evaluate how many we're talking about and how much maintenance might be involved in the first year. So I need to make sure that, we've got that covered. Thank you.
So again, just for my own repeating of my understanding of this document, it's sort of a living document, and it's the state of play as things will be once the elected council forms on that day, but this document will change afterwards. Any other further comments or questions or edits? Then do I have a proposer to recommend this document to the elected council? Thank you, Councillor Franklin. A seconder, Councillor Mercer, and all those agreed, please show of hands. Are we okay to agree this one? So that's all those in favour. Any against and any abstentions? Diane, were you for or abstaining? For. Sorry, so that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. The next document is the Statement of Internal Control, Appendix 4D, page 135 on my scrolling. Any comments on this one?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I've updated under number 3, the internal control environment. It says the council, and it actually specifies annually appoints a chair who is the chair of the council, and I've redacted that so that it doesn't say Horsham Parish, it actually says the council. Thank you.
And that's because it was defined earlier in the document, yes. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a proposer for this document? Councillor Emery, and a seconder, Councillor Frankie, and all those in favour, please show your hands. Everyone okay with this one? Trudy, are we okay with this one? Okay, sorry, against, abstention.
Okay.
Sorry, just making sure. The next document, that is Training and Development Policy, Appendix 4E, page 138. Turn to the clerk again.
Thank you, Chair. Just quickly check. Don't think there was anything with this one. No alterations suggested for this one.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have a proposer for this document? Morag, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Frankie, and all those in favour, a show of hands. And that is unanimous, thank you. So that concludes agenda item 8. So we're going to move on now to agenda item 9, continuing. That's the external auditor for Horsham Parish Council. Correspondence has been received from the smaller authorities' audit appointments to advise that the new authority will be subject to the limited assurance review scheme for 2025-26. And I'll now ask the interim parish clerk to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, I have actually prepared as well today an internal versus external audit in local councils explanation, which will be part of an induction pack, and I can share that with members because it might be helpful to understand before the next meeting. So the external audit arrangements, my recommendation is to remain in the SAAA Central Appointment Scheme. This is going to be a cost-effective approach because it would be more expensive to outsource, and you know that it's part of the central scheme where lots of other local councils in the area will be using the same auditor. That I have been advised that we will be subject to the limited assurance review regime from the 2025-2026 year onwards, and basically I will be preparing a report for the next meeting to appoint an internal auditor because I need to speak to them about this and clarify exactly what will be involved. It may just be one of these where you do a nil return because there is nothing to report, but I just need to clarify, and the internal auditor will be the person who's very well versed on how to react to this confirmation from the SAAA. Thank you.
Thank you. So just so we're clear with this agenda item, we are have the option here to approve the recommendation from the clerk that we remain within the SAAA scheme, and it was also just notifying about that we are subject for the previous or this current year. So does anyone have any further questions or comments on this item? So then I won't reread the recommendation because hopefully many of you have it in front of you.
Chairman.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Diane.
Is it possible, because you need the authority that we're going to go with the auditors, that we could approve that and then subject to the clarification that we could have at the next meeting? Can we split it?
So that won't be an option. Basically, this is the only option the time is ticking down, and if you wanted to opt out, you need to do that before the next meeting. There won't be time to reconsider.
I wasn't opting out. We just needed some clarification about whether it was a nil return, and you were going to report back at the next meeting, you said.
Yeah, but that won't interfere with this decision because, we need to appoint them. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where we'll have to look elsewhere. So we need to do that first. And then I can, obviously, once that decision, I can contact them and seek clarification and report back.
Thank you.
Hit your button. Thank you. I hope that's clear for everyone. I would like a proposer to accept this recommendation from the clerk. Thank you, Councillor Emery, and a seconder, Councillor Frankland. So all those in favour of accepting this recommendation, a show of hands, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. So we'll now move on to agenda item 10, which is regarding the Horsham Parish Council website, attachment 6, 248. And I'll ask the interim clerk to introduce her report detailing the quotes obtained.
Thank you, Chair. So you'll see in front of you the comparison report. So I sought 3 quotations. The first quote was from Aubergine 262 Limited. The second one was from My Parish Council, and the third from Parish online websites. These are all local council website providers, so they're fully versed in what's required. The sort of most important thing to worry about really is the compliance part of the website. That's very important. I did a summary of the quotes for you. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at that, and then outlined their sort of strengths and weaknesses. There's a cost comparison table as well, which hopefully you found useful. And then there was a feature comparison. I didn't know if that was a bit too much information, but I included it because I thought, there may be people that are interested in that. So going down then to the analysis and considerations, talking about accessibility, which I say is a legal requirement, the cost, migration and long-term sustainability, all those factors in, looking at them in detail. My recommendation is to take into account the legal accessibility requirements, the long-term sustainability, the sector-specific support and overall value for money. And my professional recommendation is that we select Aubergine 262 Limited as the supplier for the new Horsham Parish Council website. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. I will just comment that I did just note the variation in cost of the domain registration and management. It's purely that a .gov.uk domain apparently is on the more expensive side of domains. We can't compare this to anyone registering their own domains with GoDaddy or the other likes. But and then some of them just baked that cost in, whereas the recommended provider didn't. Any other comments or queries on this? Yes, Trudy Mitchell.
This was something that I did actually raise with Jill, and she said that it was not a statutory function, but at the moment, Den Neighbourhood Council actually use Parish Online for their mapping system. And I wondered if this is included in any of the products that these 3 options are offering.
So that isn't something that I've sought quotes for, because at the moment I'm concentrating on a basic website that is fully compliant that we're going to need for the council to start. They'll all probably have options, maybe not My Parish, I'm not sure, because that's a low cost option, but certainly the other 2 would have the option, bolt-ons and add-ons, which can be explored.
It would be interesting to know how it may have or may not affect the cost if it is added on.
It certainly would increase the cost. It certainly would, yes. It wouldn't be included in the package. So everything that's in the quote here is what is included, anything in addition. And that's why I've tried to keep it, because obviously budgets and everything are tight for the first year. But I think going forward, that would be a very useful addition for the new parish council.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. May I have a proposal to accept the recommendation of the clerk to go with Aubergine 262 Limited as our provider? Morag for proposer and Councillor Mercer as a seconder. And all those in favour of accepting this recommendation, please, by a show of hands. Any against? And any abstentions? We've got
One
one
abstention.
abstention.
No, sorry.
Okay. Thank you. So that takes us then to item. Sorry,
11.
so I missed one, didn't I? No, I did
No.
miss.
11 is next.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Flipped my pages. Apologies. Agenda item 11, that's the insurance policy for the new parish council, attachment 7, page 154. And I'll turn to the parish clerk to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. And I must offer apologies in that I wasn't able to secure the third quote. I had been promised it last week. It didn't materialise. I've been chasing every other day. So unfortunately, we have 2 quotes in front of us, not 3. But I'm hoping, looking at the 2 quotes that we have in front of us, and bearing in mind that the clear insurance, I did seek clarification from them because it had jumped quite significantly since the draft estimated budget that I prepared. And I have had confirmation that the quote, the premium now is £2,530.74, because I have made sure that they're aware that it's just allotments and the speed indicated devices that will need to be insured initially. There are no other assets to start with. So that has brought it down approximately £1,000, but still that is quite a gap between that and Zurich. And Zurich are a very good insurance company. I've worked in a council that used Zurich just recently, and I've also worked with a council that had clear councils. Both of them were good insurance companies and provided exactly what the council needed at the time. So bearing in mind that the cost difference, I think, and that you cannot secure a 3-year agreement, because if you could enter a 3-year agreement, that has cost benefits, but we're not in that situation because we just need to make sure we have insurance in place for the 1st of April. So my recommendation would be Zurich Insurance Company. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the council? Councillor Buffy.
And just to say that I've had experience in the past in this sector of using Zurich as well. They're well established in this particular sector, so I wouldn't have any problem supporting that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other further comments, questions? Councillor Emery?
Thank you. I noticed on the schedule of cover for clear insurance that includes a number of items of under a heading material damage property. And I'm assuming that there isn't that equivalent cover under Zurich. Would you consider it necessary for the parish to have cover for those things like street furniture, playgrounds, equipment, war memorials, etc., or are you quite happy for it to be effectively self-insured?
So what I've mentioned to Zurich is that obviously it's a new council. That's why it's so costly competitive, their quote, because we can actually add to their schedule. So as and when things come online, and there is no penalty for doing that either, which is welcomed. And so it means that you're only paying for what you need at the moment. The setup as well, I mean, it's going to take a few months for the new council to bed in, inductions, approving all these policies and procedures and everything. So, I think the conversation with the district council about, assets and things will take probably at least 3 to 6 months to start. And then obviously you're negotiating. So I'm quite comfortable with having Zurich as the insurance company initially, because I think it fits what's needed straight away. And then that can be added to if required.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Sumter.
Sorry, it's not a question. Your statement, you said from the 1st of April the insurance will be in place and that will cover the SIDS then?
Yes, I've asked that the speed indicator devices are included on the schedule for both of these insurance companies, with the expectation that they will be covered then by the new council. Obviously, the report's coming to the shadow council in March, but I'm preempting because what I didn't want to do is get the quotes and then find out I'm needed to go back again. So I have factored that into these 2
was just trying to clarify it because of the neighbourhood council's insurance could lapse nearly then in relation to the SIDS.
Yes, that was my understanding, that you, when you're dissolved, your insurance may lapse. So I've added it to the schedule for this purposes, because the new council, the new parish council, is a legal entity from the 1st of April. The allotments, therefore, will be under the management of the new parish council, so we do have to have insurance in place. So that just actually makes sure, yeah.
Thank you. Any other further comments or questions? Yeah, Councillor Mitchell.
Sorry, still referring to the SIDS, but I think not for this meeting, but it is something we need to discuss because they're already insured with Zurich, so it's going to be sort of almost double insured if we're not careful. And I will contact you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Any other further comments? Seeing none, do I have a proposal to accept the recommendation that we go with Zurich? Councillor Mercer, and a seconder, Councillor Franklin. Thank you very much. All those in favour, please show of hands. That is unanimous. Now we're on to item 12 on the agenda, and that is the IT for the new parish council, attachment 8, my page 156. And I will again turn to the parish clerk to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. So hopefully this did make sense to you. Bearing in mind your decision earlier, so with going with the serviced office Freedom Works, there is broadband already installed. Therefore, looking at all the information that I had when I compared all these three, so there is Cloudy IT, Orchard IT, and Netcom Solutions. And I looked across the broadband telephony, the Microsoft 365 licensing, support, setup, governance, and risk. There's the assumption that there will be 3 telephony users. That's, bearing in mind my proposed structure that we haven't agreed yet, but that's the kind of way I've gone with this, just so I can get a like-for-like comparison. Councillor support I haven't asked for yet, but that's something that could be factored in as well once the elections have happened. Domain name isn't needed as management because that will be covered by the website provider. And also I wanted to just commit to 1 year so that the new parish council, when it's formed, if it wanted to, could change provider. So we just need to make sure we're ready for May, and all the emails are set up and all things like that. So the background was to ensure day one capability for the newly formed Horsham Parish Council, that's secure emails, collaboration and compliant data handling, and a responsive support. The objectives were to secure the Microsoft 365 tenant and governance, reliable connectivity, telephony, support for officers and councillors, and value for money and low risk of lock-in. So I won't go through all the sort of details of all the sort of technical information, but basically you had headline comparison tables which broke down into monthly costs, the one-off setup costs, and then talking about the broadband telephony licensing and support breakdown. There was a brief risk register which just told you about the risks if we delay in doing any of this. And then obviously just a quick table there about the governance and compliance assessment, just to give you the breakdown of each offering. So when I looked at it, if it was broadband as well, there was clearly a preference to go with Orchard IT. But if broadband wasn't required, then my Cloudy IT is my recommendation. So I hope that all makes sense. Having reviewed the 3 quotes in detail, I recommended Orchard IT as preferred supplier based on governance, alignment and compliance model if the package was to include broadband, as they're based in West Sussex. And that was just a 1-year IT setup and services to ensure readiness. If the serviced office was used, which is what you've resolved this evening, broadband can be phased in later on because there is broadband already at the serviced office. And if that's the case, then my recommendation is Cloudy IT as the preferred supplier based on governance and structured onboarding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Any comments or questions? Is there a proposer from the floor to recommend the chair's recommendation, which would be option B, if I'm correct, because we've previously settled the broadband? Is there a proposer? Councillor Boffey, is there a seconder? Councillor Mercer, all those in favour, please a show of hands. All those against and abstentions too.
Two. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 13, which is a communication protocol for the Shadow Council, attachment 9, page 162. Following a meeting in January, I met with the interim clerk to prepare a communications protocol, and this was shared with members for comment. Were there any comments that you received?
Nothing, Chair, no.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other further comments on this protocol? Thank you. This protocol is just for noting, and it doesn't require approval at this time. That takes us to agenda item 14, which is correspondence. This was added to our agenda, I believe, by Councillor Fletcher initially, and the idea was to invite any members to report on any correspondence they had received in their area with the Shadow Council that is directly relative to the new Parish Council. So that's not necessarily, some of us may be used to what happens at neighbourhood councils. This is not a compilation of the correspondence that the clerk has already received. This is if you individuals have had any correspondence or interactions with members of the public or residents that you wanted to report. I will just say that I had a inquiry from a member of the public with regards to the budget discussed at our last meeting, and after speaking with the clerk, just to clarify for that person and all those interested, the budget needs to be updated following this meeting with all these now expenses that we've agreed to, so we'll be presented with a later version of the budget to approve at our March meeting. Did anyone else have anything to report? Nope, none. We shall move on. So that takes us to agenda item 15, and that is the next meeting for the Shadow Council. So the Shadow Council shall meet on the 23rd of March 2026 at 6 p.m. Again here in the Council Chamber of Albury House. I would invite members to share the details of the meeting with the public, to invite further engagement with this process, and of course this will be the final scheduled meeting of the Shadow Council. So I did want to open to ask if any members had any proposed additional agenda items they want to see on that agenda at this time, if you know of any. Councillor Sumter?
Yeah, could we have the transitional arrangements from the 1st of April, just so that we understand what goes on and we can report it to our residents, please? All right.
Thank you. Did anyone else have anything they know of now they want to see on the agenda for the last meeting? Councillor Boffey?
Not really anything to add, but and I'd hate to put the interim clerk too much on the spot, but any kind of a teasers of what we're likely to expect coming at that meeting, because I know there's various documents you're working on, so just any particular things you envisage coming up at that one.
Thank you. Yes, so there will be some human resources documents. We talked about disciplinary, the grievance procedure, things like that. There will be, gosh, but I didn't bring it with me. I've got a list actually of sorry. Oh, it's upstairs. But yeah, but what I'm going to try and do next week is to work on some of them and get them out to members early, so you have plenty of time, because it's only about 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks to the next meeting. So if I can get some of those, beefy documents out next week, it will give members a couple of weeks then to have a look before I publish the agenda. I think that would be helpful.
One thing just occurs to me, and I know I've mentioned it to the interim clerk before, I don't know whether it's really in scope for the Shadow Parish Council, but just moving forward, is the twinning arrangements for the town, because obviously there's a transition of all sorts of things coming on, so I don't know whether there's anything to raise or mention at that point.
Thank you. So I have reached out to the secretary for the Twinning Association, and I'm advised there is a visit in June. There isn't any concrete information known yet, but I've certainly got a report draft ready, and I was going to bring that to the March meeting, because it would be important, if there was going to be involvement with the new parish council, by the time the elections happen in the first meeting, you've got 2 weeks until the visit. So it definitely is something that the Shadow Council should consider. And then as soon as I've got information to share, and I'm hoping that will be in time for the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Mitchell?
Hi. I did mention earlier, sorry, Glenn Kirky, about the co-option of members from neighbourhood councils to the new parish council. And I think that ties in with the transition arrangements, because I have a fear that all the knowledge that the neighbourhood councils have at the moment is going to disappear down a black hole unless we really do take care of how it's handed over.
Okay. Do you want to come? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, so I have reached out to sort of try and explore how much documentation you have, and thank you, because I think I have responses from 2 people. So I've yeah, I know that there's one box with information in, and I think there's a drawer or some files in from one of the other. I think it's from one of the clerks, I've heard. So as soon as I know you know what that information is and what it relates to, that would be helpful, and then I can, you know, think about where it's got to be stored as well. That's another consideration, because when you talk about physical files, these are not electronic, they're you know, physical files, so there will need to be storage secured somewhere as well. I don't want to take them home to Kent.
I don't actually recall seeing a request for that, but I may have missed something.
Yes, I did reach out just to ask you know, what capacity you thought that the documents might need, because
Off my house.
that's you know, because what I didn't want is to end up with a room full, and you know, as the new council has only one office space at the moment, there wouldn't be room for, you know, a whole row of filing cabinets.
I'm not just referring to paper documents. I think it's the personal knowledge that people have.
Okay, I've seen your hand, Councillor Mercer, but Councillor Skip, I think you had your hand first.
Yes, thank you very much. It's just that a lot of work's been put in by the neighbourhood councils, particularly chairs, and I wondered about expenses for them for this. Is that something that actually could be considered?
Sorry, you're talking about expenses?
Yeah, for those from the neighbourhood council who have been working quite hard on this.
That wouldn't be something that I'd have remit to consider. I'm only here to set up for the new parish council, so I think you'd have to speak to the district council. Yeah.
I just thought I'd bring it up to the chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mercer?
I just wanted to go back to Councillor Mitchell's point and question, because as I understood it, you weren't just talking about paper and electronic records.
Right.
You were actually talking about people who had tribal knowledge
Yes.
that they would be able to bring to the early discussions. Have I got that right?
Yes.
And therefore, it would be quite helpful to know how one might be able. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who I hope, you know, I will be a candidate for the parish council, and I hope to get elected. So I'm therefore working to try and make it as successful as possible. And I can see how important it would be to have, right from the beginning, co-optees who bring that tribal knowledge. And I just wonder if there isn't a mechanism whereby we can manage that.
So you can certainly put that forward as a proposal to the new council, but what you can't do is appoint co-optees, because the council doesn't exist yet. And obviously co-option is not something that every council has to do. It's very regular. Local councils normally do, because they want to bring in, as you say, expertise from outside. But it's not something that every local council does, and certainly it will be for the new parish council to decide on co-option. It wouldn't be for me or the shadow council. We can't do that.
Forgive me if I come back. Surely the shadow council could advise the existing council of the benefit that they think there would be, at least to invite as observers who might speak, representatives from the existing neighbouring councils to their meetings.
So if you're talking about
One second,
attending...
Clerk. I don't think that mic's working, so
Oh,
use mine.
okay. If you're talking about attending meetings as, an observer, that's absolutely fine. There is no problem with that at all, because members of the public can come and do that. You know, you don't have to have any special permissions. But if you're talking about being co-opted onto a committee, that's different. So I think there may be a bit of a misunderstanding. Co-option is very clear in that is a decision for the new parish council. If you're talking about people attending meetings and observing, that's not a problem at all.
I'm talking about something in the middle, actually, which you're trying to patch that short gap between the advice and the decision. That's all.
Councillor Murphy, I do just generally sense in the room that there's general agreement with the concept of and that I don't think anyone, and I hope no one elected in the future, wants to block that knowledge transfer. So I think what I'm detailing from the clerk is we cannot structure that or instruct the new future council to do anything of that nature, but the mechanism is there that they can do it. So, but I'm going to go to Councillor Buffy next.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the interim clerk's been very clear. This council can make a recommendation of any kind that it chooses to make. So there's nothing stopping it from happening. A recommendation can be made, just we can't make decisions or appointments. But outside of that, if this council wants to recommend to the new council that they consider appointing co-optees or whatever, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can maybe revisit this briefly just to clarify it when we discuss the transitional arrangements in the future agenda item. So I'm just going to read the rest of my clause here, which just says, could I ask anyone else for any future agenda items that you do send them on to the interim parish clerk by Friday the 13th of March, so that it can be added to the published agenda. So that's sort of your deadline to get anything on the agenda for the final meeting of the Shadow Parish Council. That's Friday the 13th of March. But that leads us to the end of this meeting. So I will thank everyone for joining and working through those documents, and I can conclude at 7:18.
Wonderful.